Oh my God, I am so pissed off. I just talked without recording. I just recorded like 20 minutes of a podcast, of a solo pod, which is awkward and hard to do. And it didn't record. So here we are. Welcome back, guys. I swear to God, I have recorded this intro 20 million times, and at this point, I'm done. So, this is what it is. Welcome back to For Love and Justice. I am your host, Elise Williams Reichard. And if you haven't been here before, a little bit about me before we get started, so you know who I am. I am a writer. I'm a Swiftie. I am currently a childless cat lady. I'm also super neurodivergent. That's why I can't talk. And so I have several missions with this podcast, but one of them is to just create a safe space to discuss mental health. I am very extremely new to the mental health community. I'm learning new shit every single day. I am diagnosed ADHD and diagnosed with anxiety and depressive episodes. Undiagnosed autistic and OCD. But if, as you know, if you're neurodivergent, if you have one thing, you probably got it all. And someone pointed out to me recently that I collect neurodivergent people. I woke up last summer and realized that all of my friends have some kind of neurodivergence going on. And we find each other. And I'm just really big on community. And so, yeah, I'm going to bring in my friends to talk about mental health. I hope to bring in my therapist at some point. She is my role model. I also live in Arkansas, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders reigns supreme. And so, federal politics are important. We're here today to discuss voting for the 2024 presidential election, but local politics are, some would argue, of more importance. And I'm also going to do a ballot breakdown. Tune in for that future episode if you're here in Central Arkansas. But yeah, Sarah Huckabee Sanders is just always up to some tomfoolery and some shenanigans. If you've heard about Podium Gate, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm here to shed a light on local politics that don't get talked about as much, as well as the clownery that goes on in DC. Because it's stupid and annoying, and I completely understand wanting to just tune out all that noise. My therapist has told me that I should do that as well. So again, totally valid. You are valid in your life decisions. But I stay mentally unwell. And so I am here. I do it with humor. And so I'm here to just bring you the little tidbits that I think more people should know about, and do it in a way that hopefully makes you laugh. And hopefully you want to tell somebody about it. And hopefully it doesn't stress you out too much. So essentially, For Love and Justice is just a place to create a safe space for healthy dialogue, to challenge the status quo, and to unpack the complexities of life, and to discuss how real people feel about real issues. I studied journalism in college. It was my minor. And I've always been very drawn to journalism, pop culture, storytelling in general. I'm a writer. I was a dancer for 15 years. Part of my neurodivergence is I have realized upon reflection, I went a bit nonverbal for a while throughout my childhood and teen years. And so I really use dance as a way to express myself. And thanks to artists like Taylor Swift and Chappell Roan, I've finally found, and shout out to Emily Henry, rom-com author. They helped me find my way back to writing, my first true love. And so I'm kind of combining my writing and storytelling and my love for pop culture. I really should say my pop culture obsession. and my journalism experience. I'm just wrapping it all up into one because journalism was super intimidating. Having to like track people down, bug them for a quote. People don't want to talk to you. I cannot deal with rejection. I have rejection sensitivity. It just wasn't the right path for me. But I've always been drawn to hearing other people's stories. Do I like attention? Do I like a little spotlight on me every now and then? Of course. I'm human. But I don't like the bulk of it on me. I like sharing it. And if you followed Earn, Spend, Live at all, shout out, throwback to the Earn, Spend, Live days. The goal of Earn, Spend, Live was to create a platform and a community for mostly women, but, anyone who just needed a little advice. We always said our advice, our books that we wrote, Common Sense and You Goal Girl, they are applicable to men, non-binary, however you identify as well. But girls got to eat. Girls got to market her books. So if you can get past the girly covers. And above all else, I'm just really fascinated by human behavior. I think that's part of the TISM. Sometimes I feel like an alien who's just like studying human behavior because it's fascinating. And so, yeah, I like to pick people's brains and hear their wild stories and learn from their experience. But that's the spiel about For Love and Justice. Please like and subscribe and share with all your friends. Let's build this community. And now let's get to voting. So today we're going to go over how to vote and are we voting in this presidential election in this year of our Lord and Savior 2024. So if you're going to vote, you have to be registered to vote. Voter registration varies by state. I know in Arkansas, you have to be registered by October 7th. But like I said, that varies by state, and some states have where you can literally register on election day. So everything I say here, it's going to vary by state. Check your state, babe. And I'll also share information about how to check your state and your voter registration status and all of the things. So why is voting in your local election important? Because yes, we're voting for president, but like also if you don't want to choose between the two options we have, hey, this is a no judging breakfast club here. But like Chapel Roan said, you need to vote in your local elections. There are issues on the ballot. There are Supreme Court justices. There are senators. And like I said, I'm going to do a whole episode with a ballot breakdown for Central Arkansas. But there's a lot of important shit on there. Local policies help shape national policies. Sometimes you'll see, we like to call them copycat bills. They'll start in whether it's Texas or Arkansas or Missouri or Florida, one of the more red states. Some of these restrictive abortion bans. And you will see the same wording, the same verbiage, the same typos passed around from state to pass these things. And it's very important because I will say every single state, Roe v. Wade was overturned and abortion was put back in the state's hands. And every single state that has managed to get reproductive rights on the ballot, they have passed. The people have expressed that they do want their reproductive rights. And in Arkansas, we almost managed to get it on our ballot for this election. I interviewed Mariah Martz, who volunteered and helped get signatures. You have to get signatures from, I believe, 50 counties in the state, 50 or 52. That requirement was raised a few years ago. It was much lower, and so it was easier to get things on the ballot, and now it is harder. That's also why it's important to vote because a few years ago, it was on the ballot whether or not we wanted to make it harder to make it to where 50 counties have to get, you have to get signatures from 50 counties to get something on the ballot. And that passed because of propaganda by Mr. Tom Cotton. But the people spoke and it passed and made it a little harder. I won't go into specifics on the abortion amendment. I plan to do a little update skis pod, a really short pod on just, the latest on that. It will not be on the ballot because of a technicality. The other issues that will be on the ballot have the same technicality working against them, but the general attorney only struck down the abortion amendment. So casinos are still on the ballot and marijuana is still on the ballot. The same organizations gathered signatures for all three issues, but only one was struck down. So just wanted to note that. So these things are important, guys, because who you vote for president, we have the Electoral College. If you're in a red state, if you're in a blue state, if you're not in a swing state, I understand feeling like, my vote doesn't really count, because how much does it actually? Everyone should vote. I'm a firm believer in that. But I understand feeling like on such an individual level, how can your vote really count? And when it comes to local policy, it counts so much, guys. Like, they come down to Arkansas has one of the lowest voter turnouts in the country. And so, it could be between 50 votes that's the deciding factor on an issue or on a candidate. And it matters so much, especially so much is going on right now. There's so much upheaval in Arkansas. Not to fearmonger, because that's what the mainstream news is for. This is just a little fun podcast. But I do want to go over some key statistics and facts about specifically Arkansas being one of the worst states for voter turnout. So in the 2020 election, Arkansas had a voter turnout of approximately 56.5%, which is well below the national average of 66.8%, which is still low. Arkansas is also consistently ranked among the bottom 5 states for voter turnout, along with Hawaii, West Virginia, Texas, and Oklahoma. Very interesting that Texas and Oklahoma are also on that list, I must say. Could it be that there is some voter suppression going on in these states? I'm not going to get into the specifics today about why Arkansas has such a low voter turnout rate, but we've got some problems, guys, that we got to fix. And I'm really excited seeing, the grassroots organization to get all these issues on the ballot this year was really inspirational. And I just have a lot of hope for the future. So I just am trying to get that message out, because I think, to quote, President Snow from the Hunger Games, the only thing more powerful than fear is hope. And if we all get out there and vote, maybe we can actually become something other than a laughingstock. Okay, so the basics of voter registration. Who can vote? So you have to be 18 or older. You have to be a legal U.S. citizen. You have to meet residency requirements. So again, everything varies state to state. Most things vary state to state. So check your state's requirements around that. You also cannot have any felonies. Of course, however, you can still run for president if you have felonies. You just can't vote for yourself, which will be a first. A good resource, and I will share this in the show notes as well, but just go to nass.org/can-I-vote. How do I register to vote? So I really thought you could register online for the longest time. I swear I've gotten all of the men I've dated registered to vote. And I swear at some point you could do it online, but maybe I'm just crazy. You remember Rock the Vote, throwback. But no, essentially there is a form you can find online that you then have to print out. You can turn it in person, or you can mail it in. And of course, that is also going to vary state by state. You'll just go to vote.gov/register. For Arkansas, you will go to vote.gov/register/Arkansas. to find those forms. When do you have to register by? Of course, for Arkansas, it's October 7th, so get those forms mailed in. I believe as long as the date on the form says October 7th, like as long as you mail it in by October 7th, they should accept it. But registration dates will vary state by state. Like I said, some states you can even register the day of the election and still vote. You just have to check. But I would highly recommend registering early to avoid any last minute issues, especially if you're someone who moves a lot, you have a name change coming up, you have any kind of change, or you have, I don't know, a crazy job, a crazy schedule, lots of responsibilities and commitments. Register early so you don't forget, so you get it in, and so you can vote. Okay, so what you'll need to register. Of course, you're going to need to fill out the form. For the forms, you're going to need a driver's license, a state ID, a social you're going to need to know your social security number, all of those things. Now, checking voter registration status. So if you believe you are already registered to vote, but maybe you're not sure, or maybe you moved or changed your name and you don't remember if you updated it, you need to check. So for Arkansans, you're going to go to voterview.ar-nova.org/voterview. For everyone else, y'all Google that shit. It'll be one of the first few results that comes up. You will be able to check your status. And like I said, figure that shit out early. You don't want to do it the day of, the week of. You want to figure out a plan. It's kind of as serious as like a birthing plan. Okay, so I checked my status. It's not up to date. I need to update it. So how do you update your voter information? Again, whether you've gotten married and changed your name, you got divorced and changed your name back, whether you moved, whatever it is, if you've had a change in life, you probably need to update your voter registration. So you're going to visit that address that I told you to go to. You're going to find those forms and you're going to fill them out again and you're going to send them in. And then, before you show up to the polls voting day, you're not just going to give them the benefit of the doubt that everything's updated and everything's peachy keen. You're going to go back to that web address and you are going to type in your name and information and make sure that your information is correct. I love early voting. Some people like the magic of going on election day and waiting in the never-ending line in the sea of people where you're not even allowed to give out water bottles. Yeah, some people really like that. I don't. I don't like crowds. I don't like people. I do like voting. So I go early. There's a little church by my house that actually does early voting. And my husband and I just pop over there a few days before election day. We do our research and then we go in. There's no line. We vote. It takes literally, y'all, if you go in knowing what you're doing, go in with a plan, research, print out your ballot, and it'll take literally less than 5 minutes. Then you get a sticker. If you're lucky, you get candy. And then you're on your merry way. And you don't have to deal with sweaty, mean people. So how do you early vote? Okay, so again, I'm going to share all these resources in the show notes, all these web addresses. But in the same place where you can check your voter registration status, you can also see where all you can vote and early vote in your county. And it's tricky. Some of the places that they list for early voting, you cannot vote there on election day and vice versa. So make sure you read just that entire page when you check your voter registration. Print all of it out, print out that ballot. Because again, they give you a sample ballot for everything that'll be for wherever you're voting based on where you live. So other than like not dealing with sweaty people, why early vote? Like what are the benefits? Do you have to work? Do you have kids? Do you have pets? Do you have like things going on in your life? I don't know about you, but this sounds like a sponsored ad. I swear it's not. No one is paying me for this. But my friends and I have a hard enough time just trying to like hang out Like, it's like, oh, yeah, well, I have this and this on this day. Can you do this day? No, I can't do this day. Can you do this day? No. Oh, well, it's going to be like 2 weeks before we can hang out. It's the same with early voting. You just have to make time for it. It's kind of like going to the dentist. You just got to schedule that shit and you got to go and you got to rip off the Band-Aid and just get it over with. So you avoid the long lines, you fit it into your schedule. And then I don't know about you, but I get anxiety. So there was one voting cycle that my husband just was super busy with work and could not find a time to go with me. And we really enjoy going together. We don't have to go together, but it's like a fun date. It's not even like just a date. It's just like being part of history together and doing our civic duty together. It's romantic. But he just could not vote until I think it was the day before election day. And it took everything in me not to lose my ever loving mind. Like, my anxiety was through the roof. I just knew I wasn't going to be able to cast my ballot. So if it's important to you and you have anxiety, go early. Just do it. And then you can bug all your friends and brag that you voted and be like, when are you going to vote? And you can be better than them. Okay, I'm going to go over a few dates because there's also mail-in ballots to consider. Okay, so these are Arkansas dates, by the way. The last day to register to vote, as we talked about, is October 7th. Early voting begins October 21st. In some states, it has already begun. Last day to request an absentee ballot by mail is October 29th. Last day to request an absentee ballot in person is November 1st, as well as the last day to submit an absentee ballot in person is also November 1st. The last day to vote early in person is November 5th because Election Day is November 5th. That's the last day to vote. And that's also the last day to submit an absentee ballot by mail is November 5th. So as long as you send it in November 5th, general election runoff is December 3rd. So if you have to vote again, it's December 3rd. When you go to vote, you do need some kind of ID to prove that you are who you say you are, that you're not a dead person voting, or, not a citizen. In Arkansas, they will require seeing your ID before they will let you vote. This varies state by state. So before you head to the polls, please check everything that is required of you to bring, because you may not need a voter ID, but you very well may. And until Election Day becomes a national holiday, as it should be, I believe, we're going to have to make a plan, guys, to make sure we're able to cast our ballot. So if you have to take off work, if you have to coordinate with family or friends to help you with childcare, if you need help getting to the polls, I am here. I have a Facebook group. It's called For Love and Justice, just like the name of this podcast. We can get someone, whether it's childcare, whether you need a ride, whatever it is, please reach out to me. We need to get you to those polls. Your vote matters. Our votes matter. Okay, so like I said, before you head to the polls, you're going to do all this. You're going to register. You're going to check your status. If you need to change it, you're going to send it in. But like I said, before you actually head to the polls, you are going to then go back and check to make sure everything is correct. You're going to check to see what you need to bring. You're going to bring the right stuff. You're going to print out that ballot. You're going to go in with a plan. And you're going to cast your motherfucking vote. And you're going to change the motherfucking world. Okay, guys, if you have any more questions about how to register to vote or how to cast your vote, if there's anything I didn't cover, because I am very scatter-minded, I get very excited, and I get to talking, and I make my little jokes, and then I get off track. So if I left something out that's essential, please holler at me. You can find me on social media at Elise Will Reichert. I now have an email address for the podcast, so you can email me at forloveandjusticepod@gmail.com if you have questions. Like I also said, you can join my Facebook group if you have questions or if you need help getting to the polls. let's get to the polls, guys. And please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, get your friends to the polls, carpool to the polls. Say that 5 times fast. Okay, guys, thanks for listening. Hope you have a great day. Bye.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.